Aha, I messed that up. That's hilarious. Welcome to another episode of Starlight Beacon for episode 2 review of The Bad Batch. Um, this has been, I've seen mixed reviews for this episode. Personally, I very much enjoyed it. Um, Appreciate that, Mark. My, uh, my producer came in and told me that the audio was muted, but we got that fixed. Thank you, though. But hey, everybody, let me know in the comments section. Please make sure you leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you put this episode? Because for me, I would say that this is a 7. And that might be kind of low for some people, but I still found this episode very enjoyable because of I just see how it helps to build the relationship between Omega and Hunter. If you were in the Den of Nerds, a lot of y'all coming over from the Den, I said yesterday in the Discord that Hunter is the new member of the Star Wars Space Dad community or club, or whatever I said. And this episode, it kind of shows that like they're building this father-daughter relationship between Hunter and Omega, and I'm here for that because I felt like the relationship between Kanan and Ezra in Rebels was very similar to like a father-dad relationship, more so than Obi-Wan and Anakin, who were more like a older brother younger brother relationship. Obi-Wan being the older brother, Anakin being the younger. And this is, like I said, that father-daughter type of relationship, and Hunter is trying to figure out what it means to be a dad and not like a commander. And you know, even in episode 1, I like the interactions between Hunter and Omega. I think that's going to be the strength of the show, and I feel like they're setting up there's going to be a tragedy, and I don't think the Bad Batch are going to make it out of this. That's just my speculation and that's my theory. Omega is going to be like Ezra. Probably her fate may be undecided by the time this show is over. And I think a lot of this is setting up the Filoni verse. I think a lot of these characters like Ezra, like Omega, maybe even the Cuts kids and some other characters, Grogu, all of the younger characters that they've been adding to the Star Wars universe. I think we're going to see a lot more of them later. Same thing with Ahsoka. I think a lot of these younger characters are going to be recurring characters, and the older characters are here to help them mature, be in a mentor role, kind of sort of like I said, as that guardian, that father, that mother, whatever type of figure that they need in this adolescent stage of life. Like that's kind of sort of what these characters are. And you know, as we live with them more, and I think their relationship has started off very strong, we are going to become more attached to this relationship, to this dynamic between not only Hunter and Omega, but Omega and the rest of the Bad Batch team and everyone else that they interact with throughout the course of the show. And once we get to that, to those points, because Dave Filoni is really good at setting up these moments, it's going to be very, very emotional, and it's episodes like these that help those later tragic episodes be impactful. I mean, just the Jedi Knight episode. Was it Jedi Knight? I think that was in Rebels. That's my example, and I think we're building to that moment, and it's going to take episodes like these. It was good to see Cut again and the family. I loved the explanation of the chain code. I think that was one of my favorite takeaways from this show, because the chain code is something that's fairly new to canon. It was introduced in the Mandalorian. I was kind of curious as to how the chain code worked and how they were able to use it to track Grogu and others. That's still kind of sort of a mystery, because it's like, wait, how did Grogu have money? Anyway, we'll get to that later. But I kind of like the explanation of how everyone in the galaxy eventually, got a chain code and was registered under the Empire vehicles as well. But the Republic currency being outdated is no longer a valid form of currency, and they're basically doing a swap of equals for their currency. Like, however many Republic credits you have will give you the equivalent in imperial currency, and you'll have to register with the Empire in the process. So it's like that additive aspect of imperialism, right? Like the comment about the who was that, Echo and Tech were saying, like, it's crazy how we clones were giving ourselves names, and everyone else in the galaxy now is signing up to get a number. I thought that was a very clever line that they threw in there. But yeah, I mean, overall, this has been, I'm here for these character development moments because I know how key and integral they are to the story later down the road. I know that there's plans, or at least some interest in making this series go beyond one season, and all these types of things help to build towards that. But yeah, the explanation of the chain code is a good one for me. I don't know, we might see Grogu. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Rex in the next episode. I just don't see why they would delay that any further. It was confirmed that he was literally in Sulukama a day before visiting Cut and the family. So I'm pretty sure he gave them the same information that he gave to the Bad Batch. And so now the next adventure that we get is going to be focused on Rex and the Bad Batch interacting, which I think could be interesting because the last they saw each other, it was like right before Order 66 happened. And it was Rex's introduction to the Bad Batch. And then, thinking about everything that transpired after that introduction is like a lot. Like, does he even know the fate of Anakin Skywalker? Like, I'm really curious to see how they handle this upcoming interaction with Rex. But yeah, let me go back to the episode before we get into some speculation, because on just to let everybody know, Sunday's episode, I'm going to be speculating a lot on the future of the Bad Batch and what other characters and cameos may or may not be happening within this season and beyond. So if you want to, I'd be interested in talking to you all about that and where everyone's head is. So join me on Sunday for that. Here on this channel, let me see. Mark says it's a 7 to 7.5 for him. Good character development. I think they're setting up Omega for a live action too. Yeah, it just makes sense. Like, I don't see why. They've clearly, I can tell in the first 2 episodes, based on how they've written this character, that they intend for this character to be a staple within the Star Wars lore for a while. Like, whatever happens at the end of this, it's not going to be the end of this character. We're going to see her appear, and she's probably going to be pivotal in the Filoniverse. It just makes too much sense. Like, everything timeline wise and age wise for her, for Ezra, for Ahsoka, for Grogu, all line up for them to appear in that Filoniverse timeline between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So yeah, I mean, it just, and like, the same way and it's funny because all of the trial and tribulation that Ahsoka went through as far as her character development and how they introduced that character and how she was received initially versus, at the end of, was it season 5? The juxtaposition and how the fandom changed completely. Like, we did a 180 on that character. Like, she went from like one of the most hated characters in all Star Wars to one of the most beloved in 5 seasons. And it's because of that characters like Ezra and Omega and Grogu have become fan favorites in like an episode or less. You know what I'm saying? So like she's Dave Filoni. That's a credit that Dave Filoni and the team, writing teams, the Lucasfilm Story Group, for helping to basically learn from the mistakes they made with Ahsoka early on and create more, well, just create better character introductions. Like, I don't know if it was people were caught off guard. And by the way, like when I saw the Clone Wars movie, it was after, I didn't even know the Clone Wars movie was in theaters when it went to theaters, but I saw this like probably 2010, and I never had a problem with it. I've also never had a problem with the prequels either. So I always thought the concept of Anakin having a Padawan was kind of cool. It was just, for me, it was like, all right, y'all got to explain what happened to her and why we never saw her in Revenge of the Sith. And as long as they did that, I was cool, which they did. So I think we're going to have the same type of experience with Omega. We're going to see we've already gotten really good character development with her. There's still a lot of discussion about her being Force sensitive, and I'm still not sold on it. Like, it's just, I watched episode 1 again, and for me, I still don't. For me, in that episode they confirmed that she's just an enhanced clone, like just like Hunter, who has enhanced senses. I think they've somehow enhanced her perception or something. Like, whatever they've done to give her that almost insight and perception that she showcased in the first episode, all of that was enhancement, and it wasn't necessarily granting her Force sensitivity. My mom says we'll give it a 7.75. Good storytelling. Yeah. And I think this is a good episode for a lot of the casual fans as well, because a lot of people who hadn't seen the Clone Wars have no idea who Cut is, and they did a really good job of setting up those characters. And you know, all of that was cool, because I watched it with my mom, and I showed her the Cut episode of the Clone Wars after it was over, and it all clicked. And so I think in many ways the show is going to get people to go back and rewatch the Clone Wars, or watch the Clone Wars from start to finish who haven't, because they're going to continue to cameo characters from that series as well as characters from Rebels, and just continue to tie the universe together. Hopefully they don't retcon too much stuff from other Legends material, because that was a big issue in the first episode. Not necessarily, I didn't have that big of an issue with the Depa Billaba stuff. I think honestly my biggest gripe is like they changed the color of her lightsaber from green to blue, and I'm like, I don't understand why y'all keep like blue washing these lightsabers, because like they changed Ahsoka's lightsaber colors, because she had the blue and the green sabers, and they changed that to both blue. We didn't get to see Luke use his green saber in the sequel trilogies, and then now we got Depa Billaba going from a green saber to a blue saber. I don't understand why. Maybe it's a lighting thing. Maybe the lighting of the blue sabers looks better than the green. I don't care. I need more green sabers in Star Wars. Now, back to my episode. Another aspect of the episode that I liked was them showing how the clones have abandoned in many ways their individuality, and they're becoming more like the droids and stormtroopers. Like, they aren't personable. The way they interact with the civilians is very like robotic, and they've lost all of their humanity minus the Bad Batch. And I think that's a cool aspect of what they're doing. And hopefully we also return to Kamino at some point to figure out what Tarkin is doing and what's going to happen to the Kaminoans and the cloning facility, because for one, we know they abandoned the clones in favor of conscription soldiers, and we also know that, you know, in the timeline of the Mandalorian, the Kaminoan facility is still operational. Now, is it still operated by the Kaminoans, or has the Empire come in and taken it over, basically? And what events led to that hostile takeover? Because if the Empire is in control of it, I guarantee you it was a hostile takeover. Like, it was no laying down of arms. Are we going to get a new version of the legend story of the clone uprising in this? I hope so. That would be amazing, and it would also explain why we don't see the it would also just validate why the Empire stopped using clones. If anything, it's going to prove Tarkin's point that, yeah, this is why you can't rely on clones. They're too easy to control. They're too easily to be manipulated. Like, if the Kaminoans can come in, create a brand new batch of clones that we paid for, and program them to, fight Imperial rule, then that just furthers my point of why we can't continue down this clone path. Like, we got to go to conscription soldiers. But I think with his interest in the Bad Batch, especially with their fighting prowess, because regardless of what he says, he does see the value in their ability to go off the book and improvise, and how effective they are in combat. There's no question about that. His concern is probably going to be how easily they can be controlled, and how much influence the Kaminoans, the Empire, can have over a group of clones, or maybe a special forces division that is similar to the Bad Batch, that can serve as the Empire in the ways that he would like. But yeah. See, Mark says, you see, somebody speculated earlier on Santa Stream that Omega could take the white prototype Fett armor in the Filoniverse. Ah, yeah. That would be interesting. That would be... See, that's a deep lore cut that Filoni would do. I don't know if that's even in his purview right now, but I could totally see him doing something like that. But I don't think they're going to make her a combatant. It doesn't seem like they're positioning her character to be necessarily a combatant. Now, don't get me wrong, she has fighting prowess and she will be able to handle herself in those types of situations, but it doesn't feel like they're setting her up to be some sort of fighting force. So, I mean, I think that's the only caveat in that theory, but it's not beyond reason, and it's not entirely unbelievable that they would go in that direction. But yeah, see, there's more people in the chat, man. Appreciate y'all for joining. Let's see. Go back. Okay, now, should I get into some speculation for episode 3? I'm trying to think what else I really... Did I leave anything out? The spaceport stuff was what it was. No Crosshair either, so I'm pretty sure we're gonna get Crosshair in the next episode with Rex. Another thing too, if they continue to follow the trend of The Mandalorian season 1 and 2, and did they show anything? No, never mind. They didn't do that with Clone Wars season 7, but The Mandalorian and all of its promo material for season 2 at least didn't show us anything in the second half of the season, and I think that was a smart move, and it helped even enhance our experience with that last half of the season. So I am anticipating that they've done the same thing with this series, and everything that we've seen in the trailers and the promo material has all been from the first half of the season. So I think we're in for a really surprising back half of this, and you know, with these first two episodes down, I'm still very much excited for what is to come with this series. I wasn't that excited for this series initially when it came out, and maybe that helped for me. You know, maybe that helped the series grow. Maybe that helped the series grow on me. But what happened? Something. My music just restarted. Okay, let me see. Coop Daddy Yoda is sending positive energy and greetings to all. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that is my initial first episode reaction. I'm pretty sure also this is not the last we'll see Cut. I'm pretty sure we'll see Cut again in the near future. He'll probably make another appearance later, either in the next half of the season. But I don't think we're done with his storyline. I hope we also, when we see Rex, I hope Rex is more of a recurring character in the show, or at least has somewhat of an arc in the show. Because I would like to see how he helped to remove the chips from the other clones, from Gregor. Well, one, how he found Gregor and Wolf, and was Wolf directly involved in the killing of Plo Koon? Because we saw Plo Koon's death in Revenge of the Sith. Was Wolf in one of those ships that took him out? So seeing Gregor and Wolf appear in this series, prior to them having their chips removed, would be very interesting. Maybe that's something that we'll explore in the series. I'm hoping that's what I'm hoping that's what we will see, because I think that's an interesting aspect of, and a continuation of Rex's storyline, because one of the things that he hit it on in season 7 of the Clone Wars was how many brothers he'd lost throughout this conflict and how much that affected him. And for him to be at this point in the story the only one of his brothers who is not under the influence of that inhibitor chip is probably mentally taxing for him. He probably wants to help more clones help more clones remove their chips. And then what, I don't know if they'll hit on this in the show, but the emotional impact that could have, when the inhibitor chip is removed, and especially from a clone that participated in Order 66 and killed their Jedi general and commander, what kind of psychological effect is that going to have on them? Are they going to lean into that? I don't know if this is that show, but I would definitely like to see that explored in some form. Especially if they don't do it with every clone, at least do it with Gregor and Wolf. At least Wolf, because I know his relationship with Plo Koon was very strong. So I want to see if he did participate in Order 66, which I believe he did, and if he was directly involved in the death of Plo, how is he handling that in just psychologically? How's that affected him? I hope they give us that at least. Where do you see Crosshair's character? So I've got a couple theories about Crosshair. I'm not entirely sure they're going to kill Crosshair. I know that he is the villain right now, but we also got to take into account that he is under the influence of that inhibitor chip. And if they remove the chip, then he'll go back to normal. So, those are really the two options. They can either try to get the chip, subdue him to get the chip out at some point in the series, or they'll kill him off. But I think from a storytelling standpoint, it's more impactful if they have Crosshair take out a few of the members of the Bad Batch, maybe even Hunter, because then that would test the character of Omega. Like, if, let's say, they had decided that it was best not to kill Crosshair because this is not his fault, like he's being controlled by the inhibitor chip, and if he was, on his own free will, then he wouldn't be hunting them down. Then let's say if Crosshair kills Hunter, how does that affect Omega? Does she stick with the plan? Does she continue to try to help Crosshair and remove the inhibitor chip, or does she take him out? I don't know, but those are all interesting things, and I think that's going to strengthen the story overall, because I think it would be a waste. Well, no, it wouldn't. I don't think it would be a waste if they don't have Crosshair take out a few of the Bad Batch members and force them to kind of sort of morally consider what's the best thing to do. Like, do they continue down this path of trying to save him, or is he too far gone at that point? Can they find any redeemable qualities in him to save his character? And I think that's why they have a character like Omega, because she might have that type of empathy. Like, she might be the one that can rationalize and reason with them to see, like, I know how much it hurts that he took out, some of our friends, some of our brothers, but at the same time, it wasn't his fault. He's not the enemy here. Like, if she has that type of it kind of hits back to what she said in the first episode, like, I know it's not your fault, you don't have to do this, or whatever she is. Like, that was that foresight moment where a lot of people were like, oh, she's force sensitive. I'm still not in that camp, but I think that is just showcasing her character, well, at least her morality. And I think that's going to come into play later, because I think she'll have to come back to that moment in some capacity and go, okay, I know she could be in immense amount of pain, just like Ezra was after Kanan, after Kanan's demise, spoilers, in Rebels. But if she can take the moral high ground even in the face of that truth and that reality, and still accept the fact that yes, he committed this evil act, but at the same time he is under the influence of this inhibitor chip, and if we can remove it, then we should, because that was what we agreed. Or, like, that's why I'm like, him killing Hunter after Hunter has agreed and been like, yo, we gotta get this inhibitor chip out of his brain, so that he'll go back to normal, which I believe Rex will reveal. Now I'm getting into like speculation, but I'm pretty sure Rex is going to tell them about the inhibitor chips and all that stuff, and then they'll be faced with the decision of what they're going to do with Crosshair. And I think Hunter inevitably will decide that it's best that we try to save Crosshair, because he is not operating on his own free will. And I think if Crosshair kills Hunter, I think Omega, out of the other members of the Bad Batch, will, even if she's angry and emotional, she will still want to honor Hunter's final request, which was to save Crosshair. So that's all an interesting story arc and development, and I think that's unfortunately something that we have to look forward to, but it will overall enhance the character of Omega. Like, it will make her a very, very strong character and a hero in the classic Star Wars sense. Like, that's why we like our heroes. That's why we like Luke Skywalker, because no matter, he could look past all of the evils of Vader and his father and still see the good in him. Same with same with Rey, same with all of the heroes of the Star Wars universe. Like, they're always able to see the good that's still look past the atrocities and still find the good within these other characters. So I'm kind of sort of seeing that in Omega. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got on that, man. Where do y'all think, man? Do you think there's going to be a major character death in this series? And is it going to happen in the first season? I would wager yes. I would say that it's probably my bet. My money is on one of the members of the Bad Batch is not going to make it out of the first season. Just a hunch. Like, they've got to have some sort of. They got to add some stakes to the story, and especially in this first season. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Cut again, and at some point he doesn't make it out of an episode. But like, for me, I know, given how, well, it's not really that close in time, but the next big series that we get is Rebels, timeline wise. So with Rex, interacting with the Phoenix crew, if he's had multiple interactions with the Bad Batch, in the past, and he knows their whereabouts, then it wouldn't make sense that he wouldn't contact him during that time period, which leads me to believe that they're gone, or they're not. They're just off the table somehow. Like, whether they're all dead or they're just in another part of the galaxy, but whatever the situation may be, they are not available to come and help the rebels, because the way they've been positioning them since season 7 really is like, yeah, they're going to be a part of in some capacity, helping the Rebel Alliance, and I think more so the partisans than the Alliance, because I know for sure we're going to see Saw Gerrera again, and I'm pretty sure that we may even see what major event happened to Saw Gerrera that led to him getting all of those cybernetics. That could happen in this series. I mean, that could be a big pivotal moment for the entire cast of the show. And of course, I'm thinking like on the Rebels timeline, like that'd be 19 years from now. So Omega is what? She's probably the same age as Han Solo, so she'd be close to 30. She would, because I'm assuming that she's like 10 or 11 in this show. I don't know if they've given her exact age, but she would be, by the time Rebels happens, 19 years from now, like, she's gonna be what? Or not? It's not even 19 years. It's 16 years from now. Whatever. She's gonna be close to 30 by the time that happens. That's also a character that Rex is probably going to interact with, but he doesn't go to her either, or she doesn't go to Omega for help, to help with the Alliance fight. So, given the fact that they're so involved in, well, it seems like they're setting up the Bad Batch to be heavily involved with the partisans, I would say, it's a safe bet that something major is going to happen to these characters, and their fates are going to be left undecided for the most part. I will say Omega's fate may be left undecided by the end of this series, but I don't think the Bad Batch, the 4 members, as we know them, will be available. Maybe Echo. My bet would be Echo, or maybe Wrecker. Going back to my earlier question, like if there's a major character death in this season, who would it be? My money is probably on Echo or Wrecker, because I think those, I don't know how much more you can do with Echo as a character. His real redemption arc was in season 7 of the Clone Wars. Like, we got not really redemption, but a continuation of a story, completion of a story was in season 7, and now he's a member of the Bad Batch. We kind of sort of don't know I don't know how much more they can advance his story. So like, he is honestly kind of like the safest bet. But I think emotionally, Wrecker might be the most impactful at this moment especially for the rest of the team, because, and especially for the audience. Like, a lot of people like Wrecker. I know a lot of people like him as a character. So if he were to die in the first season, man, that would be something that would be very significant for the series and for the audience and the fandom. And it'd be something a lot of people would talk about. My mom says it's too early. Normies to nerds. What's going on? I shouted you out earlier. Yeah, Echo. Yeah, because I'm like, I feel like his storyline was concluded in season 7. Like, so he's kind of sort of, he's almost living on borrowed time at this point. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, not to be like morbid, but that's just kind of sort of the reality of his character. That was a big thing because really he was really a plot device for Rex. You know, him losing, you know, all of the ARC troopers basically in his command, him being able to save at least one is like I think, you know, morally helped save his spirit and his soul, because he seemed really down and out in that first arc of season 7. Then of course Order 66 happens, so that kind of sort of washes whatever moral or spiritual happiness he may have gained from saving Echo. Pretty sure that just neutralized all of that. So but yeah, I mean, Echo to me is just like he's the only character in this group right now that I don't see how you continue that story any further. Like, he is the safest character death I think that they can have at the moment. But let me know what you guys think. That's kind of sort of where my head is on all this. Let's switch into the accounts. Yeah, so, but hey, look, I said I wasn't going to speculate because I'm trying to save all my speculation for Sunday, because I got a lot to speculate about now, given 2 episodes in on the Bad Batch. We're getting a little bit more stuff on the Andor, at least behind the scenes of Andor. We know that the Kenobi stuff is coming. They've started filming Kenobi. I'm pretty sure they have by now. We've seen some set photos, so I'm pretty sure that that's well underway. But there's no way they're not tying all of this stuff together. They're too close in time period, and the Andor series especially is way too close to the Bad Batch. And off top, I don't know if they given us a timeline for the Kenobi show, because right off the top of my head, I don't know how soon it takes place after Revenge of the Sith, but that could also be very close in the timeline to the Bad Batch and Andor. I'm assuming all of these are kind of sort of close together. There's a rumor, I don't know if that's been, it's a rumor that Kenobi, live action Kenobi, will be a kind of sort of a reoccurring character in the Andor series. Just will not he doesn't have a prominent role, but he'll be, you know, popping in and out of the series occasionally, which kind of makes sense. I can see him having some level of interaction with Bail Organa. I don't know if he's going to be interacting with Cassian. That doesn't really make sense, but I'll get into all of that on Sunday. Coop Daddy Yoda says Bad Batch suggests that they all have issues. That's true. Crosshair, well, not issues, but what do they say? They have favorable defections. Crosshair is in the spotlight right now. Yes, he is. But one thing about Star Wars, there's the redemption arc, and the redemption theme is something that no matter what time period of Star Wars that you're in, it's a recurring theme within Star Wars. It's kind of integral to the brand. Like, so if anything, I see him being set up for redemption, and it's going to help to bring a lot of the it's just going to kind of validate the heroism of Omega, because his redemption is going to be tied to her. Like, that's just how they've set up this character. Like, she is ascending and he is descending. So like when you see that arc in Star Wars, you know that somehow these two characters are going to be what they're going to balance each other out. Like, he's going to challenge her, he's going to, you know, challenge her rise, her ascension, her morality, and in a counter effort, she's going to somehow, you know, bring that scale kind of sort of back to balance, help him to find the light. So yeah. So I think everybody's seems like everybody is in agreement that that Echo is probably the one to go. Like, I just can't see them taking out anyone else. They've already said that he's not even really a member of the Bad Batch because he's a normie, you know. So it's kind of like we got that element. So that kind of sort of is like, wow, you kicked him out the team. It's awfully. They're like, oh yeah, there's 5 members of the Bad Batch, but Echo's a normie. Yeah, we weren't talking about him. We meant Omega. She's the 5th member. So for me, that also validates that, yeah, he ain't gonna make it. Now, the messed up thing is, from just a storytelling standpoint, we're going to get a lot more attached to Echo. He's going to have really strong character moments, and then boom, he's going to be going, and we're going to be like, oh, yo, they took him out like that. And then we're going to be looking forward to season 2. That's how I see it. But hey, yeah, thank you all for tuning in tonight. I think I'm going to end this one a little early because this was a character development episode, and I think I've covered all of the key character development moments. But hey, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like on the channel and subscribe if you haven't already. We are actually going to have a normal episode of the Cookout tomorrow. It'll be me, Amani, and JBM. We're not going to be doing a ranking of the Sony films. We're going to be doing some news topics, some news related stuff. We're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat and some other things because we hadn't had a chance to review Mortal Kombat yet. So if you're interested to hear us talk just about nerdy topics and news that's been happening in the nerdverse these past couple weeks, come back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on this channel for the Cookout. And if you want to talk Star Wars some more with me, come back Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for my usual Star Wars Sunday show. It'll be a live stream as well. And as I always say, peace, love, blessings, and may the Force be with you always.